In 1610, a Spanish midwife named María de Zozoya confessed to the impossible. She confessed, under interrogation, to the ritual murder of 840 children. 840 in a small Basque town with a total population of less than 3,000. The confession was a mathematical and logistical absurdity, and yet the inquisitors recorded it as fact. This impossibility was not an accident. It was the intended product of the device that extracted it. A device engineered not to kill, but to unmake the mind, to shatter reality itself. It was called the Judas Cradle, and its existence poses a chilling question. How and why was an instrument of such precise mathematical agony ever conceived, not by sadists in a dungeon, but by bureaucrats in a palace? To understand the cradle, one must first understand its birthplace, 15th century Spain. In 1478, the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella established the Spanish Inquisition. This was not a frenzied mob. It was an organized, state-sanctioned bureaucracy, complete with standardized procedures, meticulous records, and a specific legal problem. Under Inquisition law, a full confession was required before execution, but traditional methods of execution, like burning at the stake, were too efficient. A victim consumed by smoke and flame might die in minutes, taking their secrets, their denunciations, and the names of other heretics with them. The inquisitors required an instrument that could achieve three specific objectives. 1. Keep the victim alive, conscious, and in escalating pain for days. 2. Inflict this agony without the visible bloody marks that might horrify the public. 3. Use the victim's own body against them, creating a self-perpetuating, inescapable torment. The solution was a masterpiece of horrifying design, an instrument named for history's most infamous betrayer, because it was built to make everyone betray themselves. The design's genius lay in its geometry. The device itself was a simple wooden stool, topped with a sharp metal or wooden pyramid. The victim, stripped naked, was suspended above it by a system of ropes and pulleys. But the tip was the key. It was not needle sharp. A needle would puncture vital organs, causing a fatal hemorrhage within hours. Instead, the point was deliberately, mathematically blunt, just sharp enough to concentrate the victim's entire body weight on an area smaller than a coin, but blunt enough to crush and tear rather than pierce. The guards would slowly, millimeter by millimeter, lower the accused. The pyramid's point would be seated against the anus, the vagina, or the base of the spine. For the first hour, perhaps two, adrenaline and involuntary muscle tension would allow the victim to fight, to hold themselves just slightly aloft. But gravity is patient. Gravity is inevitable. As muscles failed, the body would sink. Any attempt to shift weight, to find a moment's relief, only served to rock the body, tearing tissue further. The true demonic precision, however, was psychological. The victim knew that to lose consciousness, to faint, or to fall asleep, meant their full relaxed body weight would drive down onto the point, causing catastrophic internal injury, so they fought to stay awake, for hours, then for days. Sleep itself became the enemy. This methodical, engineered agony was codified in inquisitorial manuals. This was not rogue cruelty, this was procedure. But for those who analyze history, the question is not merely what was done, but why it was effective, and the answer lies not in pain, but in biology. Analyzing these original, centuries-old documents reveals a truth far more disturbing than the devices themselves. It reveals the cold, bureaucratic logic that justifies the unthinkable. If you appreciate this level of historical analysis, one that goes beyond the shock value to find the why, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. We are dedicated to uncovering the sober, complex, and often dark truths of our past. The Judas Cradle was not designed to kill by penetration. It was designed to kill by infection. Physician accounts from the era, particularly from the German witch trials, document the timeline. Day 1. The breaking point. Muscle failure is total. The blunt pyramid begins to destroy tissue, compromising blood flow. The pain is described not as sharp, but as an all-consuming, crushing, burning fire. Day 2. Infection. The open, crushed wounds, contaminated by the unwashed device and the victim's own bodily fluids, become a gateway for bacteria. Day 3. Sepsis. Fever spikes. The bloodstream is poisoned. Delirium sets in, and this was the window, the point where the mind itself begins to fracture. The victim, ravaged by infection, sleep deprivation, and relentless pain, can no longer distinguish reality from interrogation-induced fantasy. They become compliant. They will confess to anything. They will confess to flying on goats. They will confess to pacts with the devil. They will confess to murdering 840 children. Which brings us back to María de Zozoya in 1610. Her impossible confession, born from the delirium of the cradle, was so elaborate, so fantastically impossible, that it triggered the suspicion of one man, Alonso de Salazar Frias. Salazar was a younger, skeptical inquisitor. He was, in essence, an auditor, and he did something revolutionary. He did not simply read the confession. He investigated it. He traveled to the towns. He checked parish birth and death records. He cross-referenced timelines. He found nothing. No missing children. No physical evidence. He found only geographic and temporal contradictions. He proved, empirically, that the mass Sabbaths and murders Maria confessed to could not have happened. In 1612, Salazar presented his findings to the Spanish Supreme Council. His conclusion was a dagger to the heart of the entire inquisitorial system. He wrote, "There were neither witches nor bewitched until they were talked and written about." In other words, torture does not reveal truth. It creates it. It simply produces whatever fantasy the interrogator wishes to hear. The Supreme Council, in a stunning moment of institutional self-reflection, agreed. They issued new guidelines severely limiting the use of torture in witchcraft cases. María de Zozoya died from her infections weeks after her confession, but that confession, forced from her by the cradle, had exposed the system's fatal foundational lie. But the idea did not die easily. We move forward 170 years to 1782. Switzerland, the Age of Enlightenment, is in full swing. And yet, in the canton of Glarus, a 48-year-old servant named Anna Goldie was arrested for witchcraft. She was accused of poisoning her employer's daughter with needles, and to extract her confession, the court ordered the use of traditional procedure. They brought out the Judas Cradle. After 2 sessions, delirious and broken, Anna Goldie confessed to making a pact with a black dog. She was beheaded in the public square, the last person in Europe to be legally executed for witchcraft. This time, the backlash was immediate. The enlightened Europe that had read Voltaire was horrified. The case became a cause célèbre. Within years, the Habsburg Empire formally abolished torture. France followed in 1789. Anna Goldie's senseless death had become the final. Punctuation mark. The direct legal line from her execution leads to the modern prohibition of cruel and unusual punishment, and ultimately to the 1949 Geneva Conventions. The enduring lesson of the Judas Cradle is not one of medieval savagery. It is a lesson in the terrifying power of justification. This device was not created by monsters. It was created by administrators, by theologians who believed they were saving souls, and by engineers who were simply solving a problem. It is a chilling reminder that the greatest atrocities are often not committed in fits of passion, but are codified, procedural, and bureaucratic. A process that was finally halted by the death of Anna Goldie, and the public revulsion at an execution method so brutal, it was, by then, considered a relic of a barbaric past. But it was not the most barbaric. One execution, so horrific in its design and so public in its failure, was used exactly once, and then banned by unanimous decree across the continent. That story is next.